Everyone, and welcome. Welcome to another episode of Ask the Experts podcast. We are so grateful to each and every one who tune in week in and week out to listen, learn, and grow. First of all, I want to acknowledge all of you, the viewers, because without you, there would not be a show. And we've had amazing guests on the show so far. We've got another amazing guest with me this morning. I've got another one this afternoon, and she is a powerhouse that you don't want to miss. So, we've had amazing guests, and we always want to bring valuable content, amazing guests. So, we ask for you to subscribe to the channel. In this way, we can bring valuable content. We can bring amazing guests just for you. Without further ado, I want to introduce my guest this morning, Rick Rose. Rick, him and I, we've just recently gotten to know one another. We have, groups that we belong to. And the reason why I wanted Rick to come on the show this morning is because he's had amazing story that he has shared with me behind the scenes. So I want Rick to also share with you as to his story. And if you want to scale your life and business, what does it truly take for entrepreneurs to do so? So without further ado, Rick Rose, welcome to the show.
I thank you so much for taking the time and having me on as a guest. Very much
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Absolutely. Welcome anytime. Rick, you and I, we had, we shared about your story, your successes that you've had. Can you share with us your backstory? You shared with me, but so the viewers can also get to know you more.
It can be a very long story. How much time do we have? I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
well, just share the nuggets that, you want to share because that's the important part.
Yeah, I'll start with some of my experiences. Fairly young, in my early 20s, um, I started in the elevator trade. So in that, I had a few years of construction experience, which has done me well over over the time, over the years. Um, from there, in Ontario, Canada, where I am from, the main purveyor of liquor products is the LCBO.
Mhm.
So I went and applied in there as just part time over the Christmas season. They wind up having me until the end of March or something, and then the guy I was replacing came back, so they had to lay me off. But it was wonderful. I applied for full time, and a while later got on full time, and stayed there 17 years, retiring as an LCBO manager. In that time, having a kind of a government job, it wasn't a license to print money, but it certainly made it a lot easier to get mortgages and everything. And I started buying homes, fixing them up, flipping them, selling them while I was working full time at the liquor board. And at a point, after 17 years and having an entrepreneurial personality, um, I thought that the government thing was wonderful, but I'd always done something and been interested in real estate. So I got my
Mhm.
real estate license, and it's now been over 30 years since I've been licensed. In that kind of period of time, my ex-wife and I had twin girls, and she had a legal education, legal background with the Federal Department of Justice here in federally. Yeah. Um, and so when after she had the kid, she said, I really don't want to go back to work, kind of 9 to 5. So I bought her a paralegal business. So I handled Landlord and Tenant Act and small claims court, and she basically handled everything else. Which kind of brings me to today. When I sit down at a table with somebody, that really brings a lot to the table. The various experiences that I've had in there too, and because of the renovations I was doing, when I was working for the liquor board, I started a company called Rose Construction and carried that along for my flips and everything as I progressed in the real estate field. I actually am a retired appraiser, real estate appraiser, which again brings a lot of experience, a lot of energy to what I'm kind of doing today. I'm a retired part-time firefighter. Um, my
Wow.
my my basic nature is of helper. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if it's, flipping a home or real estate or whatever. I do it with the mindset that I'm going to help, and in that, kind of money shows up at some point. Um, so that was I spent actually my wife asked me how long were you for, and I had to figure it out, but it was almost 10 years.
Oh, wow.
You
Wow.
know, sometimes in that you see stuff that no human being should look at or see, and other times it's just simply helping Mrs. Jones get the cat out of the tree, which is a wonderful feeling. You're kind of there to help no matter the circumstances. Um, that's kind of a short snippet.
Well, that's amazing. That's a powerful intro, Rick. Thank you so much for sharing that. And now that we get to know you even more, I didn't know you were a firefighter, but that is incredible. It's incredible just, helping people. And I love that spirit. So let's talk about as you've delved into so many careers as a firefighter, and they're all interrelatable, they're all, one sort of combines into the other. It just so happens that it does. Let's talk about, as a real estate appraiser, you got into real estate, but before that, you were in construction, right? You've got your construction company. Let's talk about the mindset because I think mindset is always crucial. Like, even for our viewers listening who want to perhaps get into startup, get into a first business, knowing what is that first business that you want to endeavor into is never easy. It's never easy, and you got to put your heart and soul into it. It looks easy. Well, I want to start a construction business, but what are you willing to do to make it a success? Can you share with us the tips, the strategies perhaps that you have implemented in your life?
If I could take a step back, I actually missed one business that I got into and started and everything.
Okay.
Uh, I was living actually in downtown Toronto. I was about 8 or 9 years old, and my grandfather, who was a craftsman in woodworking, made me a small shoebox, and it had kind of the shape of a shoe where the heel goes, and a little drawer in it that I could keep, my little brushes and the polish and stuff like that. Both my parents worked, so getting home from school at about 9 years old, I really had not much to do. So one day I grabbed this little box. I went down Yonge Street, just south of Gerrard, sat down, set up my little thing, and I started shining shoes for people. And that worked really well for a couple of weeks until my parents kind of found out. Where'd you get that money? What that you've got money there? Where'd you get that? And I told them, I'm down there and I'm shining shoes. What? So that business got killed pretty quickly. My mom worked in an office space, and I'll say photocopier because nobody would know what a Gestetner is, but they had kind of a photocopy thing. And we lived in an apartment building, and she made up flyers for me, and I handed them out to the whole apartment building. And my whole thing was free pickup and delivery. So I would shine shoes in the apartment building. Anyway, that actually was my first business.
Okay.
Going into renovation and construction, I think there's kind of two answers for that. You either have a want or a need
Yes.
or both.
Right.
The underlying thing why I think people start a business is kind of starlights and a dream and everything. And I think the underlying reason is probably money, and it starts that way. But you also have to have a passion. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yes.
for me, that was kind of built in.
Mhm.
Wow, that looks like a really good business, or I thought of a really good business. And you have to build up internally kind of an excitement and a passion and learn everything you can about that and then attack it full on 100%.
Mhm.
If you, as you know, if we go into something with a negative, well, I'm not sure that I can do it, and I'm not sure it's going to work. Well, I'll try it, but I don't think that's the wrong mentality. You
Mhm.
know, you have to have a great positive PMA, positive mental attitude, and go in it and enjoy it. Of course, there's going to be little bumps. There's going to be waves, but actually, that's part of the learning process. You learn from failure. So you get a little bump as you go along, and you solve that problem, you fix that issue, and you've learned a lot, and you keep moving forward. And the more that you try, the stay positive, the more you try, and the money finds its way into your bank account. And the more positive you are, probably the more money that will ultimately wind up in your pocket.
Right.
So I think that's kind of the basis of is starting a business. You know, you have to know about the business, because if you don't know about it, it won't be fun. And
Right.
it's the old adage that, you know, if you do something every day
Hmm.
that is fun, that you go out of the door and smiling and going, yeah, I get to go to work today. You never go to work. You're just, you know, doing something that you love doing, and you don't work a day in your life because you love doing it. I'm a real estate broker. I actually love this business. I I don't go to work every day. I go to help people and have some fun and meet some great people and keep smiling, and you know.
Well, that's PMA right there. You got to have that positive mental attitude, smile. And oftentimes, as entrepreneurs, we are so bogged down into our work, just working, burning that midnight oil. And I used to have that mindset too, until Rick, I realized that, life is too short. There's always tomorrow. But, if I can complete the task that I have today to complete, and if that some bits do not get done, that is okay. I'm not beating myself up. And I think a lot of people beat themselves up. I've got to finish, I've got to finish, I've got to finish. But at the same time, listen to your bbody. You don't want to burn yourself, that, something may happen to your body, like internally. You never want that. So listen to your body, and that's what I'm starting to do now.
I think you have to go through that in order to learn the lessons, and I really do think it's about balance.
Hmm.
You have to balance your family life, and you have to balance your work life,
Absolutely. Hmm.
and give your all to each one of those, but each one at a time. And don't let one kind of take over your life. Oh, I've got to get this done. I've got to do work, 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 and then you never see your family. Where's the balance? You, you have to create a balance, and then stick to it.
Exactly. How does one go about creating the life balance? People talk about the work-life balance, and people may say, "Okay, Rick, how do I do that? How is it possible for me to create that work-life balance if I'm not used to doing? How can they do it?"
I
Well,
think
your
there's
book is
actually,
called Just Do It. Your book is Just Do It. Yes.
I think there's actually two ways, and it depends on the person.
Hmm.
Some people can do it internally and just go, okay, wait a minute, I need to straighten this out, and they figure it out internally, mentally, and they go ahead and do it. If you're not one of those people, no problem. I think that's then comes down to your day timer and time management. If you're finding that you're not really living, you're putting too much time into work or too much whatever, wherever, write it down. The
Hmm.
writing, not type it into a computer, a pen and paper, and
Pen and
actually,
paper.
yeah, write it down. And if you need to, take the things that maybe are a little unbalanced, write them down, and then everything will become clear. Spend more time with the family. Book in X amount of time, 2 hours, whatever, go and watch your son's ball game. Go and watch your daughter's skating thing.
Mm.
But start booking in, and that way, I believe, you'd start to create a balance. You've got time for work, time for yourself, time for the various things for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, time is, having that time management truly is the key to, how much you're going to get done. And I think that's such a beautiful, that's just such a beautiful way to live. Let's talk about your book, Rick, which is very highly, valuable. Can you share the title of your book? Or what is your book? Do you have it with you?
I actually I have a number of books right here, and they're all for real estate and for seniors.
Okay.
Uh,
What's
the,
that book
the
that you shared with me? Just do. Just do.
do I am
Oh,
just
do.
doing the final edits on it, and I've had it in my mind for more than 10 years. And the way I came up with the title was I took the whole concept of the book and I squished it down to, gee, what am I going to call this? Squished it down to like a chapter in my
Mhm,
book or in
mhm.
my head. And then I got it down to a paragraph, got it down to a sentence, and got it down to one word. And that word
Amazing.
is do. Do what? Do whatever you need to do to keep moving forward.
Right.
I cannot walk out of this room without putting one foot in front of the other. I need to do something.
Hmm.
Um, and I just now finished it. I'm doing the final editing, final take a look, and did I make any mistakes in here? And I'm also right in the process right now of getting a professional front cover and back cover uh,
Amazing.
done for it. And I think it's going to be really good. And the basis is, how come I'm not doing the things that I really want to do?
Mm.
How come the next door neighbor seems to buy a brand new car every 3 years, and he's doing all this stuff, and I just don't seem to be able to do that? Well, what I have put in the book will help people, at least give them a starting point, a middle point, and an end point to. And I'm not saying to compete or try and keep up with the neighbors. I'm saying
Mhm.
this is a very individual thing. And one of
Yes.
my analogies is, this is like playing golf. And I don't know if you're familiar with golf, but
Not really.
you look at a game and you think, well, that guy's competing against that guy. And that's absolutely not true. When you're playing golf, there's nobody else that you can rely on except yourself.
Mhm.
You're actually competing against yourself, which means you go and play 18 holes and you get a 70, and then next time you try and beat your number. You're actually always competing with yourself. The point is, this
Oh.
is something that you have to do yourself. There's nobody that can hold your hand. Nobody can walk you through it. But the
Hmm.
problem is that most people actually don't know the process of where to start, where to go from there, how do we continue on, and that's actually what the book is about, is helping people. Nobody can hold your hand and walk you through it. You got to do that yourself. But gee, Rick, what do I do? Where do I start? Read my book.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I do look forward to when the book comes out, and I'm sure we'll have you back again and to talk about your book because it's just absolutely incredible. When you did share with me. So let's talk about, the do, because the doing part in relation to everything, Rick, that you have accomplished, absolutely just incredible. But you had to do, and I really like that word, do, because do is missing out from so many. And as we talked about, the mindset aspect, how the mindset truly either hinders people or they move forward in the direction of the goals or the dreams, the aspirations that they've had, right? So either it's just a two-way thing. Either it hinders them from not progressing, doing that thing that's required for them to do. So I love that you have to do, you've got to take the actions, because without anything in life, we can't expect to get anything just by sitting here and expect everything to come. You got to do. And so I would love for you to, Rick, to share how can people take the step, because it's very easy for you and I to say that you got to do, but you know, I'm just curious to know, what is that first thing that individuals need to do, that they don't have the fear, or they don't have the blockages that's going to hinder them from the aspirations that they want. So what is that? I'm just curious to know, what's that first thing that anyone has to do?
Honestly, the very first thing is mindset.
Hmm.
The one thing that you have to get straightened around and organized in your mind is the fact that you can do whatever you want to do. I mean, how many parents have told their kids, at 8 years old, you can do whatever you want to do in life?
Yeah.
Boy, that they don't realize it and the kids don't realize it, but that is such a powerful, strong statement. Anybody can actually do. So again, the problem is with finances and balancing a checkbook, they don't teach that stuff in school,
Yeah.
which I think is not, they really should do that. But the other thing is, where's Czechoslovakia? Okay, so they taught that in school. At this point, I really don't care. I know it's over by Europe, but I didn't really need to know that as much as once you get out of school and once you learn all this stuff, what do you do?
Hmm.
Do
Exactly.
what do you do? Well, again, that's kind of where the book comes in and sets out steps of what to do. But the very first thing is your mindset. You have to change that around so that you don't, well, I don't think I can do anything and I'm not sure, and maybe I'll just go back to bed until this afternoon. You have to get rid of that mindset and start retraining yourself. To do that, use positive affirmations. And one of the things that when I was teaching other realtors that I would tell them to do is grab a piece of paper and write down the things that you're very, very good at. Write it down. I am a great father. I am a great husband. I enjoy my hobbies and I do well at them. Write down about 10 or 12 things on a piece of paper. Now, the hard part,
Hmm.
go to a mirror in your bathroom. Turn on the water so nobody else can hear you, whatever. Look yourself right in the eyes with your paper right there and start reading that stuff off. All those positive, and do that twice a day. And after 2 weeks, write down another 10 points
Hmm.
and stand in front of the mirror. And it is tough to do at first. Look you straight in the eyes yourself and you read off those things. The fact is we have a conscious and subconscious. The conscious is kind of the filter. Subconscious, it doesn't know from nothing. Stuff stays in there and it comes out into the conscious. But the fact is that the conscious, this is a simplistic explanation, but the subconscious is only this big. And in the world that we live in now, there is so much negative stuff. Boy, watch the news, watch a
Oh yeah.
commercial.
Hmm.
The Americans' commercials are, do you have cancer? Come over to our. Oh my goodness! I put it on mute or something. I don't want that to marinate in my mind.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but I'm hoping you're kind of getting the concept about. First thing you got to do is change your mindset. This subconscious only holds this much, and right now it's three-quarters full of negative crap.
Hmm.
So the whole purpose of the positive affirmations is to keep putting stuff in there because it can only hold this much. And pretty soon, the positive stuff will start to push out the negative stuff. And pretty soon, you'll just start to naturally think a little different, think a little better, think a little more positive because there isn't as much negative crap in that subconscious mind. So, just these are little tips and stuff, but
No, that's
mindset,
great. Hmm.
it has to start with how do you think? What is the first, and where does that come from? Subconscious mind. So change what's in there, change your outlook and everything. He's always so positive. Hey, that's not a bad thing. you know, hey, he's always so positive. That's a wonderful thing.
Right. I mean, I've heard people say, she's always smiling, or she always looks so good. I always used to hear people, and I still hear people say that. But those are kind of people that, Rick, I just don't want to. I just move away because you know why are you saying that? Why are what you need to understand? And I think oftentimes what happens is that what's happening inside of us internally when we say that when we judge, it's almost like you're judging. Why is she happy all the time? Why is she smiling? Well, maybe because that's how their attitude is, and it comes down to your attitude. you know when you're positive, you and I, when you have that positive outlook, you have that innate, it just comes across to other people. If
Hey,
you're
hi,
positive,
how are you?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but you just make it a point. So if you are happy internally, you will just go up to the other person. Hey, Rick, how you doing? How is your day? How's your day? You will make that point, not that the other person needs to come to you and to say, are you having a nice day? You will go out your way to do it, to make the other person feel important.
yeah, absolutely. One thing that I was saying, well, probably within the past 2 weeks, is you hear all the time, people can't change.
Mm.
People can change. I think I've kind of figured out a little bit of that. When a guy and a gal get together and they start talking about marriage, she says, "Yeah, just leave him alone for now. I'll change him once we get married." The guy actually doesn't say that, but he, in his own mind, goes, "Yeah, I'll train her right. I'll change her to." So what
Right.
I've learned, what I know is there is no way that she's going to change him, and there's no way that he's going to change her. Somebody cannot change somebody else, but people can change. I am not the same person as I was when I was 21 years old. I'm, in my humble opinion, I'm a lot better person. You know, I'm a lot happier. I'm a lot everything. Just I am a different person. But I've done that myself. I'm also a lifelong learner. I love learning stuff. Not maybe about Czechoslovakia, but as long as it's interesting to me.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
always learning, and hopefully good stuff, positive stuff. Always learning absolutely helps also.
Exactly. And that's a great point. And I just want to allude to that point because it's just that is such a powerful point you made. You've always got to be curious because if you are a constant learner, and we talked about having that PMA, the positive mental attitude, and for anyone to have that positive mental attitude, it requires for them to be that person who exudes that, to exude that confidence. And I think confidence is also another factor. And a lot of women, that I've experienced who have gone through like a difficult stage in their life, or divorce, or any kind of trauma, that self-confidence that perhaps they once had is, it's just diminished, and then how to gain that confidence back. So I think they all are intertwined, the positive mental attitude, your confidence, your self-esteem, it does diminish, it goes down. And especially, when things happen in your life that you just have no control. But I love what you said, and I really want to just allude to that point, is that how when we go through those difficult stages in our lives, or when we have the experiences, is the attitude that really helps us to go a long way. How has the attitude played in your life, Rick? At the age of 21, when you reflect back in your life, how has the attitude especially played in your life that when you reflect on your life today and with all the accomplishments you've had and you're having, what is that attitude that you've gathered in your life that says, wow, I'm so amazed as to what's happened in my life? Can you share with us as to has that been the catalyst?
I think to a certain extent, I think it's built into some people, and other people have to work at it and change the way they are. And it probably has a lot to do with their upbringing, their parents. If both their parents were negative, how are you going to turn out? The good news is that no matter how you are, you can make those changes and become a more positive person. I really believe that, for example, self-confidence, as you mentioned, I think, or I believe that self-confidence is made up of a whole bunch of smaller, different things that are just underneath. And if you start attacking and making better all of those small little things, the self-confidence will come back. People say, well, I've got to build up my self-confidence, so I'm going to do whatever, I'm going to try this. I believe it's a whole bunch of small steps. But when you say that, unfortunately, some women have had their self-confidence diminished, I think all of those little points underneath that self-confidence label have been attacked. And that's why slowly over a period of time, the self-confidence is diminished because all of those little points are being kind of taken away or diminished one at a time. So you start working on all of those other little things, and your self-confidence will, at a point, start to come back, and you start to feel better about yourself, and that helps with the PMA, the positive mental attitude, and it's all kind of one big basketball, one
Absolutely.
one
Absolutely
big
is.
group.
Yes, it is. Yes. Rick, your final question. This has been such a powerful conversation, Rick. Truly has been very enlightening. Your final question, can you share with us your three life lessons of everything that you have accomplished in your life, and tomorrow you were to wake up in the morning and all your files were deleted? What are the three takeaways that you want our viewers to know about you?
Well, it's all my files are taken away. It's not the
Yes.
end of the world.
No, but I was saying if it, oh, it's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world. Okay. I I am a person, and I think everybody should be. I do not concentrate on the problem. I concentrate on the solution.
Hmm.
So, first thing I would do is kick myself in the butt and learn a lesson. Learn, no matter what happens, always try and learn something. Why didn't I get one of these little things and back up all my files so I wouldn't be in this position? Rick, change that. Don't ever let this happen again. Okay, second thing, if I lost all my files out of my computer, okay, how can I get them back? Well, I can either take the hard drive and send it to an actual expert who probably can get back most of my files, or I can go in the cloud someplace because almost everything is saved these days. There are, so did you see what I just did? I'm not concentrating on the oh, poor me, what am I going to do? I lost everything. Oh, give me a drink. Whatever. Don't do that.
Right. It's a solution. Yeah.
Stop concentrating on the problems, start concentrating on the solutions. And no
Right.
matter what area of life that you go into, I think that's a very, very good suggestion. Start concentrating on the solutions. For the good stuff, for the bad stuff, everything in life. And
Right.
that also helps with the PMA, positive mental attitude. Okay,
Mhm.
we have a problem. How can I solve this? And if you need to write stuff down, write it down. If you need to work through it in your head, work through it. But keep moving forward with a
Hmm.
smile on your face. We're still on the right side of the grass. We're not underneath it.
Right.
No, we keep moving forward successfully.
Exactly. Well, Rick, those are beautiful, powerful points. And when you were talking about uh, you know, have a smile on your face. I often reflect back to like my days, and if I have a challenge, and most people, entrepreneurs, there are challenges. It's going to come up. It's just inevitable. There's no way you cannot have any challenges. But as you said, have that attitude that put a smile on your face, have that grace. And when I do that, honestly, it just makes a lot of difference. Because when I do have a challenge, if I do experiencing some roadblocks somewhere, I just have a smile on my face, and it really makes my whole body, the composure is just so much different. I feel so much lighter. I feel so much better, as opposed to when we have a frown and think, oh my gosh, I'm just, you get so frustrated with your day, and I think, oh my God, why didn't this go right? Why didn't this go? But you know what? You and I, we can keep on blaming the whole day, but blaming is not really the answer to the question that you are facing with. So don't, and I absolutely just love that, Rick. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're very welcome.
Right? But it's true. You know what? You just feel like
Can I tell you a very quick story?
absolutely. Go ahead.
I was
Yes.
about 20 years old and I knew I wanted to buy a house and fix it up and flip it, and I had the capabilities. I just didn't have very much money.
Hmm.
Well, so where do you get money? Well, I walked into a bank. It was my day off, and I walked into a bank. I was 20, 21 years old. So I want to speak to the manager. And I sat down and I had all 3 pages of a whole business plan handwritten out, exactly what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it. I was prepared. I went in and talked to the bank manager and I said, okay, here's what I want to do. I want to buy a house. I need the money to do that. I want to fix it up, sell it, make a profit. And we talked probably for 15 minutes. And I went in with the same attitude that I kind of have right now. I had a smile on my face. I had confidence. I knew what I wanted to do. I was very well rehearsed in what I was going to say. I was prepared. And after about 15 minutes, he said, okay, so the answer is I can't give you any money. Really? He said, based on, your financial situation and everything else, he said, you don't qualify. I can't give you the money. Okay, he said that's official. He said, unofficially, buddy, you got to keep up this attitude because the presentation that you just made was probably one of the best that I've ever seen. I can't give you the money, but you keep up that mentality, you keep up that attitude, and you will get whatever you want in the future.
Wow.
Okay, so that was a few years ago, and I've never I don't know, I can't even really recognize his face. He's probably long retired or something by now, but I've never forgotten those words. Keep up the attitude, the good attitude. Keep up that great mentality, and it will serve you well. And here, years later, I'm telling you that story, and I haven't forgotten his exact words.
Isn't that amazing? That is so good. Absolutely. When we have that positive mental attitude, people do see that. People do see the attitude. The first thing when you walk into a room, how do you carry yourself? How do you carry, the attitude? Do you come in uh, with, your brash, or do you have that ego about you that yes, you need to give me that money? Well, no, you're not really entitled to the money, but people notice your charisma. People notice the attitude, first of all, that you do display about you. So I think that always just counts a lot, by having
That
that.
that positivity, it actually physically exudes. When you walk into a room, when I walk into a room, I make sure my shoulders are back and I've got a bit of a smile on my face and my hand is out, ready and willing to shake hands.
Yes.
And people are then more accepting of me. They feel comfortable because I didn't go up to them and snarl. I went up with a smile on my face, my shoulders back, shows a little bit of confidence,
Mhm.
and a good firm handshake. Hey, how are you? You know, and then on to the next person. You're absolutely correct. The combination of the mentality and the physical aspects put together is so powerful,
Mhm.
so powerful.
Absolutely. So it's about your physiology as well, because physiology plays a huge part. I believe it's about 70% of the physiology that you display says so much about you. And, so I think, and then that, as you said, with the mental attitude, the positive mental attitude that we have about us can just go a long way. And
Killer combination.
it's a killer combination. Yes, exactly. Rick, where can people connect with you? How can we
Uh,
support you?
Here's my personal email address. It's r underscore rose at yahoo.com.
Okay, are you on social media? Can people connect with you
Oh,
somewhere?
Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, which is now X, YouTube. I've got about 157 videos up on YouTube. Um, I, somebody once said years ago, gee, Rick, it took me a while, really hard to find. I said, yeah, I know. I've got a cell phone. You can text me. You can call me. I have email. You can
Mhm.
fax me. I still have one of those. I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Yeah, I'm really hard to find. But the funny thing is to try and find me, if you type in Rick Rose, you will get a fairly large black rapper man that lives in the United States called Rick Ross.
Oh, Rick Ross, yes. But you're Rick Rose.
Yeah,
So you're different.
the computer can't tell it. If they saw me, they could tell the difference. But if
Exactly.
you put in Rick Rose Realtor, Rick Rose Windsor, something else, I'll fill up the first page of Google.
Amazing. Amazing. Rick, this has been such a powerful conversation. Thank you so much. It's been so enlightening. And, the viewers, I'm sure you've had enjoyed the conversation with Rick Rose, not Rick Ross, Rick Rose. And I'm just so grateful that we could have Rick this morning. Really appreciate his valuable time. And what we have shared with you today, and the content has been so valuable. I've just got a ton of notes that I have just remembered from Rick's conversation today. And so as a result, please do subscribe to the channel so that we can bring valuable content each and every time. This will really help us to help you, and to so that the channel just grows and we can have amazing guests on the show. In takeaway, in closing, as Rick said, always have a positive mental attitude, because your attitude is what I like to call it is to have the gratitude. Gratitude and attitude is what you display that people begin to notice about you. It's not the other person, but it's about you. It's how and what are you doing to helping you so that you can get deals, you can get the relationship, etc., etc. Is in your attitude. So make sure you change your attitude, because your attitude is everything, and your attitude, and be grateful for everything that you have today as well. Thank you to each and every one for tuning in to this episode, and stay tuned for at 2 o'clock. I've got another guest on, and she is a powerhouse you do not want to miss. And we will see you the same time. Bye for now. Thank you so much, Rick.